programming. My name is Doug Damon. We're glad to have you with us today. If you like history, this is going to be an excellent program. If you get a chance in the future, or if it's a cold day this winter, you have nothing to do, you want to bring the family out to explore some of our history, mainly natural history, come here to Ann Arbor at the Exhibit for Natural History. It's been here since 1926, this building, and in 1956 dedicated to preserving natural history of our local region and also our nation. I suppose today, more importantly than ever, that we do understand our natural history because of some of the changes we're experiencing in some of our environment. To give you a little example, as we're here at this facility, we have a young lady that's volunteered, a student of history. She comes from Boston, and her name is?
Tatia.
Tatia, thank you so much for taking the time out today. A lot of our families got youngsters in school learning about natural history, and I think this would be a great place for them to come.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
We find in the museum, it's 4 stories, it's in a rotunda, it's a voluntary admission fee, so that's something you can determine what you'd like to contribute. It's great for the kids, and for a lot of adults who were brought up with dinosaur bones, you guys have got a real good collection here.
Oh, yeah, we have a collection dating as far back as like 1902. We have so much stuff here. It's ridiculous, yeah.
And it's amazing to find that some of these artifacts go back literally millions of years.
Mm-hmm, absolutely, absolutely.
We have behind us, in fact, a native, apparently, of Michigan. What is this behind us here?
Well, this is the American mastodon. It was found in Michigan, along with other mastodons. Mastodon comes from North America, usually found in Alaska and New Mexico, but this one's found in Michigan. This one right here is a male. It weighs about 6 tons. At the shoulder, it's about 10 feet tall. It's a relative of the woolly mammoth and the elephant, and it's just it's very exciting. It's from the Ice Age period, and it's one of our favorite pieces.
It's awesome, and the Ice Age period did somewhat transcend through our community near Wyandotte. I guess what, 11,000 years ago?
Mm-hmm, 11,000, about 20,000 years ago, yeah.
Amazing, and apparently this specimen here is 11,200 years old, ladies and gentlemen. Who knows? You might find one of these in your backyards if you get out your shovels. And even back then, I guess humans were around this type of animal due to some of the markings. If we come a little closer to it, there was some evidence apparently through some fossils that 11,000 years ago here in Michigan, there were people.
Yeah, absolutely there were people, and a lot of scientists think that people actually killed off this species for hunting purposes, and just like we think that we actually made them extinct, which is really sad, but probably true.
I suppose for survival too, considering the weather back then was so different.
Absolutely, and also their tucks are made of ivory. They're very, very valuable creatures. Yeah.
And as we look at this, you say, wait, how much again?
6 tons.
6 tons. That's amazing. Boy, that'd carry a lot of lumber, wouldn't it?
Absolutely, yeah.
And considering too this animal today, what would be its closest relative?
Probably the elephant. The elephant's a little smaller, considerably smaller, but probably the elephant. Yeah.
And 11,200 years ago, in our region of Michigan, would the weather have been different back then compared to today?
It would have been colder, a lot colder, but approximately the same.
And this would have been from the Ice Age?
Yeah, exactly.
And there are different periods, I understand. One was the Jurassic?
Yeah, that's long before the Ice Age, like the Jurassic, the Triassic, and the Cretaceous period. That's when the dinosaurs lived. But these came a lot earlier.
A lot earlier. Well, let's go visit the Jurassic period.
Okay.
Move within through the museum. We've now moved from the Ice Age to the Jurassic period, and we've got quite a creature standing right behind us.
Yep, this is the Allosaurus, the forerunner to T-Rex. He's about 85 million years old, a little smaller than T-Rex, a lot of similarities, but a lot of differences too.
Well, he doesn't look a day over 25 million years old.
He's very old, very, very old.
And these were synonymous. Where were these found?
These were found, I think these were found in America. I think these are American dinosaurs.
Wow. And then they're pieced together here at the museum?
Mm-hmm. Yep, these are cast, meaning they're not the original thing, but these are casts of them. And yeah, I think this was put together about 50 years ago.
And any interesting things about them that we might know about as far as their hunting techniques must have been fabulous.
Yeah, his hunting techniques are very similar to T-Rex's. They have the same sort of like technique and stuff like that. He's a lot smaller, so not as carnivorous, but still very, very scary.
I would probably be running as fast as I could from something like that coming out of my backyard. Were there humans back then?
Oh, no, not at all. Not at all.
Not that we know, 85 million years ago. Well, no wonder. And then what happened to them?
Um, then they evolved and sort of went extinct. There's a lot of ideas on how they got extinct, the Bang Theory and stuff like that.
We hear things of that nature. Bang Theory, I know a lot of the leading scientists are going to be here today to discuss some of the changes in our global environment. We'll get a chance to talk to them in a little bit. But perhaps volcanoes had an impact, hurricanes, ocean currents changing, things like that are happening today.
Yeah, the main idea is that an asteroid came and sort of made these volcanoes and made like a lot of gas, so the sun couldn't show and plants couldn't grow. Like that's the main idea. We don't try to support that idea too much because there's a lot of Christian people that come in here and a lot of people that have mixed religious beliefs. So we don't like force that idea upon everybody, but it is the main idea that we go with.
But there is a growing body of evidence that there has been changes, not only to our continents, due to things out from outer space to things that are happening right here on Earth.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. We should all be very, very conscious of these changes because they will have an effect.
And as these changes continued, we see some of the other creatures that existed at that time. We just moved now down to some of the other Jurassic pieces as well. And you, as a student of history, is this kind of one of your emphasis?
I'm usually into American history and theological history, but I'm very interested in natural history as well.
I suppose it all tells a story, one way, shape, or form.
Pretty much, yeah.
And this individual that we have here, what is this?
This is the Edmontosaurus, also known as the duck-billed dinosaur. He came around the Cretaceous period. He is a hadrosaur, which means he has sort of a duck bill, very small teeth. He's a plant eater, so he's very, very cool.
For something as big to be a plant eater, that's amazing.
Yeah, definitely. He's 32 feet long and about 39 feet long for like at full growth. So he's very, very huge.
And how many years ago do we find these type of creatures on the planet?
Well, he was in the Cretaceous period around T-Rex, so that was about 66 million years ago.
66 million. And they're still finding evidence of these creatures today.
Oh, absolutely. We're finding different anatomical evidence to help us change our idea of these. Like we used to think that this guy had a really long duck-billed nose and played in the water all the time, but now we know there's a lot of things that are different about him.
Amazing. And the tails on these creatures are amazing as well, and the bone structures. This is fascinating to bring some of the family or youngsters down. I think they'd have a lot of questions about this. As we move along this exhibit, and we also have another interesting creature that we see coming up. And a lot of these creatures flew. They didn't just walk up on the ground. They actually were in flight.
Mm-hmm. There are the pterosaurs, which are right up there, and there's some over there as well. But the pterosaurs are interesting because they weren't dinosaurs and they weren't birds. They were actually just flying reptiles. So that's a common misconception, but they're still very cool.
Yeah, good point. Flying reptiles.
Mm-hmm.
Are there any on the planet today?
Flying reptiles, there are birds. That's like one of the closest things. But these died out when the birds took over in the Miocene, yeah.
And I understand, too, some of the bone structure, some of these larger creatures do resemble birds in some ways.
Absolutely. A lot of people think that dinosaurs evolved into birds, and birds are living dinosaurs right now.
And I suppose, too, as technology has changed, even some of our inventors of the history found some relevant design applications from some of these creatures.
Yes, exactly. Leonardo da Vinci, a lot of people with airplanes and stuff, we look at this all the time. Technology resembles nature all the time.
Amazing. Who knows, some of these kids out there just might find a good idea by coming down here and creating something new. We'll move along to some of the other exhibits and stay with us later. Here we are, the exhibit of natural history in Ann Arbor, and as you might come out and visit, you take the tour, which we're doing. Some excellent displays also on some of the early primates.
Absolutely, absolutely. We have so many displays on the human evolution. We have skulls. We have so many bone displays. It's excellent, really.
And as far as the museum goes, this is probably one of the most comprehensive, archaeological type of museums of its type.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Roughly how many millions of years ago do we find some of our first primates on the planet? Do you have any idea?
I actually don't have an idea. I'm sorry.
I know we hear millions of years, maybe 10, 12 million years ago, up to maybe 60 million years ago.
Yeah, well, we have the evolution of just like Neanderthal and then human evolution into that, so there's millions of years we're talking about.
Well, this is fascinating, and as we take you through some of the exhibits, folks, just stay right with us. these periods that are preserved here in the museum reflect just large dinosaurs that would be walking. Also, we have our ocean creatures that had to evolve, and we found artifacts as well. We're in an area here that is probably one of the closest relatives of the modern-day hippopotamus, which I understand might be the whale.
Yeah, this is actually Basilosaurus. He's one of our favorites. He's known as King Lizard. And what's interesting about him is that he was actually a mammal first, and then he became an underwater creature, which is fascinating to us.
Isn't that? And here we see feet at the end of this creature.
Absolutely. Those are specimens of when he used to walk on land. And so his feet just shrunk, but he still has them.
It's amazing. And if you've ever seen a whale out in the ocean, to imagine them coming from a hippopotamus, but we understand the DNA is very close.
Yeah, it's very close, but they also look very different. Like this guy was extremely long, longer than a hippopotamus could ever dream of being.
Yeah, where was this particular specimen found, do you know?
This particular specimen was found in Egypt.
Wow, all the way from Egypt, we have some artifacts right here in Ann Arbor. Well, that's fascinating for the family. So, folks, get on your walking shoes and come on down here to the exhibit of natural history here in Ann Arbor. Stay with us as we take you through some of the other areas. Folks, but when I was a youngster and I had kids too, probably one of the most fascinating little toys I ever got was of the T-Rex dinosaur. And I guess this is probably one of the most well-known dinosaurs in the family.
Oh yeah, it's definitely the most famous, and this is our favorite exhibit. Everybody comes to see this. And we also have a T-Rex skull here too. So
Amazing.
It's wonderful.
And
a T-Rex brain, his brain.
The actual brain.
Yep. The cast of a brain we showed everybody, but we do have the brain downstairs in the research department.
Wow, that's amazing. And I know the museum here has scientists from all around the world.
Oh yeah, we have scientists working all the time here.
That's fascinating. And I suppose looking at the T-Rex skull itself, when you look at the teeth, the size of the skull, I suppose the movie Jurassic Park, we recall, these things really were man-eaters, huh?
Yeah, exactly. This skull is about 4.5 feet long. The largest T-Rex that we've actually found is 15 feet long, but we have this guy here. His teeth are about 6 inches long, very, very scary, and he's just a massive, massive dinosaur.
I can see how I would be a pretty sweet morsel to one of these things, so I guess we were the hunted back then.
Absolutely. Well, if you lived back then, you would be the hunted, but he hunted everything from meat eaters to plant eaters, anything that he could put his teeth around.
How big were these animals in the sense of length and weight?
Well, lengthwise, they were about 40 feet long, and height-wise, they were about 15 feet long, and they weighed about 7 tons.
About as much of a house. Wow, amazing. Folks, stay with us as we take you through some really amazing scenery that will take us back in time, millions of years. Katia, and she's taken us to a very, very detailed exhibit, not only reflecting mammal creatures, but also very detailed displays on a different period of times from our ocean creatures.
This is the Life Through the Ages exhibit. It's on our prehistoric level, and it basically shows all the ages of life from the Cambrian period to the Devonian period all the way to the Cretaceous period. And it has dioramas so you can see everything that was living at that time.
It's amazing, too, the amount of detail going into these exhibits. And as we peer into some of them, they bring you right back into the time frame, don't they?
Oh yeah, they're very accurate. They spent a lot of time putting the exact specimens, the exact creatures that were living at that time in these dioramas.
Do a lot of the students have participation in the design and construction of these exhibits?
The students don't have them, but our facility members, they spend a lot of time doing these.
Now, someone comes here, they can come into this room, and I swear it takes you right back in time. It gives you that sense of feeling. We look at some of these marine creatures, including the sharks and these different crustaceans. What period are we looking at here?
Well, this is the Devonian period. It was actually before sharks, before anything. This is when fish came onto the scene, so this is our first fish time period.
Amazing. And we look at our area of Wyandotte. We're situated at the end, just at the beginning of Lake Erie, one of the largest natural inland lakes in the world. I suppose our area was underwater at one time.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, it was underwater.
So it might not be uncommon to find some fossils right in our area that might go back thousands of years ago.
A lot of people do find fossils. In fact, we have a fossil day when a lot of kids bring in their fossils, and they have scientists to tell them exactly what they found. And a lot of kids find amazing things.
That's fascinating, and I know a lot of adults like to participate in that, just as I did too. And these are held at different events that you have here at the Exhibit Museum, correct?
We have lots of events every weekend, practically.
Well, we'll give our audience too some of that information so they can check this out. We move here to a different display. These creatures are.
This is the Permian time period, and these creatures are the first dinosaurs to walk out of the water and sort of step onto land.
Actually, just came right out of the water one day.
Pretty much went from fish to amphibians to reptiles to dinosaurs, yeah.
Amazing. And then these sceneries we see go back even now. How many thousands of years do we look at the Triassic period?
Well, the Triassic period was 190 million years ago, so.
Wow, 190 million.
Yeah, we have the prosauropods walking around in that diorama.
Amazing. And it seems as though somebody must have had a glimpse in time when you look back at some of these sceneries that you put together. They look awesome. And I suppose, too, that this exhibit will continue. It's open throughout the week.
It's open from 9 to 5 every day, except Saturday and Sunday when it's open from like 9 to 2.
9 to 2. Very good. And again, during these cold winters, folks, if you don't have anything to do, bring the kids on down, and it's just a voluntary donation. Well, great. Stay with us as we take you through some of the other museums, and soon we'll speak to some of these scientists from around the world that are coming here to describe some of the changes that we're seeing right today before our very eyes. 140 million years ago, ladies and gentlemen, as you were walking about, you'd have to definitely keep an eye out on what was above you. Here at the museum, we'll show some of these exhibits that were actually flying right over you.
Yep, these are our famous pterosaurs. They're wonderful. A lot of kids really, really love these, but they are not dinosaurs. They are flying reptiles, and we're very proud of them.
Amazing, well preserved, and you look at some of the wingspans, the designs. I actually see relevance to some of the aircraft I see flying over me these days. It'd be hard to tell the difference.
Absolutely. Some of these are as big as airplanes, and some of them are as small as sparrows. These are actually one of our most varied specimens.
I suppose the speed of some of these were phenomenal.
Oh yeah, they were extremely fast. I couldn't tell you the miles per hour because nobody really knows, but we have an indication that they were very fast.
Now, how did they bear their young?
Just like regular birds do.
Right.
Regular birds and crocodiles do.
Nesting and so forth, eggs and so forth.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you, you guys did a great job on some of this, and even some of the lizards, the artifacts on lizards that we see. What do we have here in front of us?
Well, we have our Cretaceous lizards. This is a Sycophants, and he is our favorite lizard. We like him a lot. We use this to tell children the difference between lizards and dinosaurs, and these lived at the same time as T-Rex and Triceratops. We love them.
And these are found by scientists throughout the world, and they were brought here to the University of Michigan.
Yep, these are found all around the world, and we're studying them downstairs, too.
Even as we speak.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, that's fascinating, folks. And shortly, again, we will be joined by some of the leading scientists in the world here at the exhibit Museum of Natural History, so stay with us. We started our tour. Tati, I want to thank you very much for taking the time out. There's so much here to see. We could literally spend a whole day.
Oh, thank you for coming. This was wonderful.
And it's nice having young people from Boston coming here to Michigan to learn their history and help teach us and wind out what's going on within our natural history. What floor were we on again?
We were on the second floor. We're now on the third floor.
And up here you have displays of what different kinds of artifacts?
Well, this is our Michigan wildlife display. So we have a lot of wildlife that's central to Michigan, a lot of birds, a lot of mammals, reptiles. We have everything up here.
I did see some of these. These are fabulous, especially in relation to our own home state here in Michigan. We've got beautiful birds here, including eagles that are now coming back, bald eagles. And if you've ever seen one of them, you'd swear that they are, an ancient creature that have their family relatives right here at the museum.
Well, come on down and you'll see them. They're beautiful. We have an amazing collection.
One of the things, too, I really liked here at the museum up on the fourth floor is the interactive displays that you can participate right in.
We have a new interactive display called Evolution, and that should be up for another year or so. And we have a planetarium up there. We have a geology exhibit. We have a lot of cool stuff up there.
Cool. Tati, thanks a lot for sticking with us and getting us around this huge museum today. Ladies and gentlemen, stay with us as we bring you some of the leading scientists that are coming right here today to describe some things for us concerning our climate right here in Wyandotte and throughout the state of Michigan. Invited here at the museum to a really amazing function. As we alluded to earlier in the program, some of the top scientists from around the world are right here at the Exhibit of Natural History. And today we have with us
Natasha Andronova, University of Michigan.
Thanks, Natasha, for coming. And we have also with us.
Joyce Penner, also University of Michigan.
Great, Joyce. Thank you for taking the time coming down and talking to some of the people that are coming here to find out what's been upsetting the balance a bit of some of our climate here in North America and throughout the world. And I guess now we're in the 21st century. You two ladies are right now working very hard at researching out climate changes, things that are happening right now, and upsetting the balance, I guess, is what you're describing today. Well, from your research, what are you finding right now is probably you see the most critical change in the future here in the 21st century as far as weather? What's happening?
Oh, in terms of weather and what might happen then, we don't know specifically how weather might change, but it could be that storms become more intense and hurricanes become more intense. It could be that we see more frequent El Niños, which are very hot time periods in the tropical oceans that cause worldwide changes in weather. So there's definitely the possibility that we're going to see something extreme in the future.
And obviously that's going to have huge impacts on the population, not only economic, but also biological, ecological.
Oh yeah, I mean, plants and animals are suited to the particular conditions that they've grown up in and acclimatized to. So when that changes, they have to either migrate, or if they're not able to migrate on the time scale that they need to, then they become extinct.
Well, that's what we don't want to have happen to us, obviously, is become extinct. And it's either a myth or a fact that we are seeing changes occurring pretty rapidly now in our polar ice caps, and we're understanding that this has been happening a little bit more rapidly. Is that true, Natasha?
Well, yes, I think it's true. And we have some evidences for that because we have the satellite measurements and satellite imaging of what's happening in the world. And the people who are doing research on the glaciology, they're saying that ice is melting, and that means that the effects which compete with each other, like evaporation versus precipitation. So it's in this competition, ice melting much faster than
we would like it to. Well, being a hockey fan, I understand, and you're from Russia.
Of course.
We have a lot of fans here, like for some of our Russian players that play for the Red Wings. Having our melting ponds, it's going to make it tough for a lot of the younger hockey players to get the skills they need.
Yes, and let's see, coming from Russia, I know that because we didn't have the covered stadiums, so we started our hockey on the fresh air, and of course we had a lot of ponds covered by the ice, but now ice becoming thinner, and it's more dangerous to play hockey on those ponds.
And that's amazing that we would find now in the beginning of the 21st century, we're probably living in changes as they occur, probably every other 3-4 months, every year. As you mentioned with hurricanes, recently with Katrina, we're seeing around the world these effects, and if the volcanoes start as well, we're going to even get compounded with these things.
Yeah, I mean, it's just amazing how large the changes have been in the last 10 years even. I mean, some of the hottest years that we've had on record have been in the last 10 years, so it's certainly something that we're concerned about.
And I believe this is being heard worldwide, and a lot of our engineers in the automotive industry live in our community, understand this, and they're working hard as well, working on alternative fuels to help fuel our transportation, because even with aircraft that we have today, and I used to hear it every time we have a space shuttle, it goes up, the weather changes. Is that true, Natasha?
Well, yes, weather is changing, but the problem is that we need to adapt. And how we will do this, it depends on our consciences. For example, I think the people can do the better constructions, so they will be saving energy in the houses inside. And we know that changing, for example, 5 light bulbs in the house to the fluorescents, it will be much better conservation of energy than before. So everybody can do something for that.
Good point. We can work as a team all together, and I suppose in having some methods and techniques in our daily life to help cut back on the burning of fossil fuels. can help ultimately keep our environment from going into this trend. Yes, you mentioned things like our, windows, being able to properly adjust temperature in your home, your hot water heater perhaps keeping it 68 degrees, using things sparingly, a little differently can really add up.
It can add up, and every little bit helps. But actually, as a scientist, I'm worried that we're going to see a major change whether or not we're able to stop things soon or not. And in that sense, starting actions sooner rather than later makes a lot of sense to me.
It sure does, and I think we all around the world have a real vested interest in what's going to be happening in this field. Ladies, I can't tell you what a pleasure it's been today, having you come all the way over and helping educate our public. And again, ladies and gentlemen, if you get a chance, come on down to the exhibit of natural history here in Ann Arbor and see what's here to offer in some of these excellent scientists that are trying to inform us about what's happening here in the 21st century. Thank you for staying with us. Have a great remainder of the year, and we'll see you at a different time. Come to the end of our tour here at the exhibit of natural history here in Ann Arbor, Michigan. We hope you enjoyed some of the things we were able to bring you today. A lot of us have youngsters, kids in the local community, and are studying these things in school. We thought it was important we might bring some of these artifacts to you. Again, it's located conveniently just about 25 miles due west of Wyandotte, right off North University and State Street, right here in your hometown. And if you got nothing to do on a cold winter day, gather up the family, come on down. It'll sure to keep you busy, and you may learn something as well. We also hope you enjoyed the presentation from some of the scientists that we've had join our program today. Things have changed, there's no question, especially over the last 75 million years ago and just in the past 100 years. The 21st century does bring us an interesting pathway for the future, and from all of us, we'd like to say thank you for supporting this program today.